Okay.
Now, what Krishna is telling in 30th verse, Prakruteva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. One who sees that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. So before this, I think this also we have covered. Before this, I have told some conclusions from the fourth chapter. Previously, all of you have studied. So what are the conclusions mentioned there regarding Purusha, Prakriti, and Jiva? Who is the doer among the three? Who is the doer?
The Jiva desires,
Ah,
uh,
Jiva
Lord,
desires.
God approves it,
Ah,
and Prakriti facilitates.
or sanctions or approves.
Prakriti facilitates.
Material nature. Facilitates. Yes, we know. Now, here the meaning is what? Everything is done by body. Body is created by whom?
Material nature.
Material nature. What Krishna is telling? Everything is done by material nature only. And Jiva and Lord, they are not doing anything. Is actual vision. As Krishna has told in this verse. But we know the background, what actually is happening. What is telling? Somebody can read.
This body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his body or not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these body activities. This body is given according to one's accordingly. Partial, Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is actually seer.
Thank you, bro. So what is mentioned here is regarding the vision. So what Krishna has mentioned in the verse is that nobody is acting, that he is also not acting, or no, living entity is also not acting. So all activities are performed by body. So Prabhupada is telling this body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul. We know this point. Whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. His doing means super souls activity. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constituents. Yeah, here it is living entity only. Prabhupada is talking about living entity only. And one's body. And this living entity's body. And so living entity is not doing anything. And whatever living entity one means, living entity is supposed to do either for happiness or for distress. One is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. We saw that nobody can keep quiet, and in third chapter we saw that everybody has to work. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. His body is given according to one's past desires. We are getting this body out of it. To fulfill desires, one is given the body. We saw that why we are getting the body. In this chapter only we have studied because of our desire to enjoy, with which he acts according to. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. The Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport that what is living entity is desiring. Because of his desires, what is happening? He is getting body, and material nature is giving the body according to his past desires and past karma. Simple concept is there. What is there? One who knows this is actually seeing this. So how we can see this verse in our life? Whatever is happening in our life, we can see. So whatever difficult situations or whatever some anarthas, impurities we are facing, and we can we will have reason why we are facing this because of our past
Own desires.
yeah, because of our desires only we are facing. So what we can do now to uh, is we can practice devotional service. What then automatically our desires will purify. And then automatically, just if we tolerate the difficult situations, then our karma will be vanished, and because of practice of devotional service, and then we will be rightly situated. This is told by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I just paraphrase that in short. He was mentioning in very detail. So we will go to next verse. Next verse, what Krishna is telling. Yada bhuta pruthak bhavam ekastha anupashyati tat eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, he sees how beings are expanded everywhere. He attains the Brahman conception. What Krishna is telling, a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere. He attains the Brahman conception. How means what he is saying? The different identities due to different material bodies. How the same living entity, he is getting different identity when he gets different body. That a sensible man is seeing. And what is another thing he is saying? He sees how beings are expanded everywhere and how jivas are have received the bodies and everywhere is visible. These two things is seen by a sensible man. And such a man will attain Brahman conception. Listen, and what Prabhupada is telling, somebody can read point one.
And one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself. One actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone as a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to material conception of life.
Thank you, Mukesh. So now here Brahman conception is mentioned. So before that, Prabhupada is mentioning what is material conception or material vision. So in that, Prabhupada is telling that different living entities are getting different bodies, and because of what their desires are different. And individual desires are different, and they are not belonging to the soul. Desires are different. That person can actually cease. In the material conception of life, when he's telling, we find someone as demigod and someone different bodies. Prabhupada giving demigod's body, human being body, dog body, cat body, and thinking they are different and is not actual vision. This material vision, thinking they are different. What is spiritual vision? Then it will be mentioned next. Yellow and somebody can read.
After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with the material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc., one becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse.
So, what is spiritual vision? Then Prabhupada is mentioning, and what Krishna has mentioned based on that. So, what happens when the living entity dies? And after that, what remains? Soul remains. The body is destroyed. So, all living entities' souls are same only after their death. So, Prabhupada is telling that seeing that all living entities are soul only, that is spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from differentiations like differentiation of body like man, animal, big, low. So, being freed from that and purified in consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity, this seeing all are soul, and how he then sees. So, this is spiritual consciousness and spiritual identity. Then he's telling about next verse. Then how such a person sees things. This is about living entity. Then how he sees things, that is mentioned in next verse.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, yes, please.
Prabhuji, so how much of this should we can we develop as sadhana? Seeing developing this kind of vision, can this be developed as a sadhana, or this will naturally automatically come? Should we do something in order to develop this kind of vision, separate from our?
Actually, this is actually what is going on. This section is what section? Jnana section. And so our sadhana is mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu book. And there are 64 limbs of devotional service. That is our sadhana, devotees. And but now what is happening in this portion of Bhagavad Gita? This is we saw that this is Jnana section, Jnana Yoga. And so this is just information, means this the knowledge. So how this jnani, and so that person in the now 14th chapter will come. And so in that first verse, 14th chapter, first verse, Krishna has mentioned whom these things are meant for. And he used the word muni. And 14.1, I will just read the verse. Um, So, what is the verse? Param bhuyah Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Param bhuyah pravakshami jnan sorry Param bhuyah pravakshami jnananam jnanam uttamam yajnatva munayah sarve. And so what Krishna has used this word here is munayah, and munayah sarve param siddhim ito gataha. So here our acharyas, they have mentioned that Krishna has not used here word bhakta and a devotee, but what he has used the word munaya. And means how the munis and how these jnanis, they are going to different how this jnana is leading to bhakti, and that is the subject matter. So how these jnanis, they will reach ultimately to bhakti section, and this is the sadhana for jnani people and not for devotee. And so how this jnani, slowly their vision develops, and how they purify themselves by practice of this jnana sadhana, that is mentioned here. And so that what happens if we understand this, then we actually know the value of devotional service and how rare the devotional service is, and how best it is. So how easy the practice of devotional service is, and how seeing this intellectually that this is the soul equal, and we get idea how the practice of jnana yoga is difficult. And so these are some benefit which I see. And actually, this is not actually meant for cultivation for devotees, but for the jnanis and munis, for them it is there. Correct?
Okay. But this is the reality. So, I mean, for example, just as during our morning sadhana, we try to hear as much as possible what the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, I mean, if we are able to do this vision as part of our day-to-day activities in our daytime and all right, it's not necessary that we are doing sadhana all the time, but during daytime, if we are able to several times bring our mind to this, okay, it's the super soul, it's the soul living entity within all the creatures I'm interacting with, right? Like that. So,
Yeah,
that,
it will help definitely. But this is not a practice of devotional service. This is not the limbs of devotional service. And if we practice, then we will be better situated. And but your question is, this is not meant for cultivation, especially in our sampradaya. Acharyas has not stressed this as a for cultivation. These are not the limbs of practice of devotional service. And
Good. Thank you.
uh,
Thank you, Prabhu.
so now, 31st verse, what is the actual vision is mentioned by Krishna. Then in 32nd verse, Prabhupada gave some idea about 32nd verse. So what he sees, and the person who has developed this vision of Brahman, what he actually sees. I will recite those. Anaditvan nirgunatva paramatmayam avyayah sharirasthopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Krishna is telling, those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. So the person who has this Brahman vision, he sees that soul is a imperishable and he is pure and a transcendental and pure. He is above three modes, eternal and beyond the modes of nature. And despite contact with the material body, because soul is in the material body. O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled in getting the body, and he just desires. Actually, everything is done by material nature. Somebody can read this yellow.
Living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body. But actually, the living entity is eternal. He is not born. And in spite of his being situated in a material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him.
Thank you, bro. So, how Prabhupada is explaining this? The living entity appears to be born because of the birth of material body. What apparently what is visible here? First, body is coming, and after that, in that, soul is entering, and it may appear like that. But actually, what is happening? The living entity is eternal, and first, who is there? Living entity is there first, and after then he is getting body. And not that first body is there. And after that, according to the desire of living entity, body is coming. And not that body is there first. First is there living entity because it is eternal also. And living entity doesn't born, and in spite of his being situated in a material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. Why he is full of bliss? Because he is part and parcel of Krishna. He doesn't engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him. He is pure only. The same point Prabhupada has mentioned, that soul is not neither does anything or he is not entangled. So Krishna has what he has mentioned in this verse, that soul is eternal and a living entity is eternal. Then who is changing? Who is changing?
Body.
Body is changing. Hmm. What is happening? Soul is there in the body, and but still body is changing and body is acting. But still, this soul is not entangled, and he neither does anything. So, what Krishna has told indirectly, this living entity is what? Spirit. And body is what? Body is made up of what are constituents of body? 24 elements, and that is matter. So, spirit and matter doesn't mix. And that point, because soul is not entangling, soul is not affected by the body. Point Krishna has told. We can infer like this. And for this, now this is the concept, and a spirit doesn't mix with matter. So to prove this, Krishna gives the example. In 33rd verse, he gives the first example. What he gives the example? Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad आकाशं नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मनोपलिप्यते. So what Krishna is telling, the sky, due to its subtle nature, doesn't mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision doesn't mix with the body, though situated in the body. So Krishna has given one analogy of sky and other things. So sky doesn't mix with anything, and akasham, or the Prabhupada has taken the meaning air, to understand it easily. But actually, the word here akasha means the ether, and ether is the actual meaning which acharyas have taken. But for simplifying that, Prabhupada has taken the meaning air here of akasha. So this air or ether doesn't mix with anything. Yeah. Although it is all pervading, everywhere, ether is there everywhere. But still, it doesn't mix with anything. Similarly, the jiva is there in the body, but is not affected by the qualities of the body. Like body is temporary, but jiva is not affected by that. And jiva is eternal only. Jiva is aloof, like ether is aloof or air is aloof. So what Prabhupada tells, somebody can read.
The air enters into water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with the anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to his subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with this body and how is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this.
Thank you, bro. So what Prabhupada is telling that is air, and so air enters wherever, and in water also, mud, stool, and wherever it enters, it doesn't mix, you know, with that thing, particular thing. So similarly, body is also aloof because it is very subtle and we cannot see. Sorry, soul is aloof, because it is very subtle, and although it is entering into different bodies, therefore it is impossible to see with material eyes how the living entity is in contact with the body and how is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one in science can ascertain this. So we cannot observe, and Krishna has told here that soul is not entangling himself, hmm, although it is inside the body. Hmm. It remains pure only. Hmm. We cannot verify by science, but how it is happening. So for that, Krishna has given this example. We can verify like this, that although the air, hmm, air goes anywhere, so still it doesn't entangle. Hmm. So air remains air only. Hmm. So similarly, soul is there, pure only. Hmm. So we can understand by this analogy. So another analogy Krishna gives. This is one second analogy Krishna gives. What he tells is, yatha प्रकाशस् यथा प्रकाशयति एकः कृत्स्नं लोकम् इमं रवि क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशति भारत. Son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminates the entire body by consciousness. So, what sun illuminates the entire universe by, but whatever impurities are there in the universe, and that also sun purifies. So, similarly, this living entity, and he also illuminates the entire body by consciousness. So, till the time living entity is there, and that till that time only consciousness will be there and in the body. And as sun goes and sun sets, and when he goes after sunsets, and we cannot see the illumination in the that part of the universe and after the sunset. So similarly, the living entity or soul leaves the body at the time of death, and then consciousness we cannot observe in the body, and a body is dead, and or without consciousness. So, like this, another analogy Krishna has given, to understand how soul or living entity is not entangled, although it is present in the body. So, what Prabhupada tells about this, somebody can read alone.
There are various theories regarding consciousness. Here in Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, the consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul, as the sunshine or the light is proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by an intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of combination of matter. It is a symptom of the living entity.
Thank you, bro. So what we can learn from this paragraph is that, you see, by consciousness, by consciousness, what we can infer? If consciousness is there, means there is
Soul is
presence of living entity or soul is present. So similarly, if sunshine is there, then what is there?
there. Sun is
Sun
there.
is present. And this is the one point. Consciousness is the proof of soul, and sunshine is the proof for sun, presence of sun. And similarly, this consciousness is not the product of matter. And the consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul. And the sunshine or sunlight is the proof of the presence of the sun. And when the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of combination of matter. It is the symptom of living entity. Consciousness is what Prabhupada is telling. It is not a product of matter. It is not created by material nature, not created by body. But what it is the symptom of the living entity. It is a symptom of the living entity. This is very important. We can see the presence of the soul by consciousness. And then next.
The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. But the super soul, which is situated in all bodies as the friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between super consciousness and individual consciousness.
Supreme consciousness. Thank you. So what Prabhupada is now, he's telling about super soul also in this paragraph. And difference between super soul and soul. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, in quality they are same, is not supreme. But living entity's consciousness is not supreme. And because the consciousness of one particular body doesn't share that of another body. So soul cannot know about what is happening in another person's body, another living entity's body. He can know about his kshetra, his own body. And he doesn't have any idea about kshetra of another living entity, means body of another living entity. But super soul has idea of bodies of all kshetra. Super soul has idea. He knows about all living entities' body. Like this, Prabhupada has mentioned. So what now Krishna has mentioned here that like sun and illuminates the whole universe. So similarly, the soul illuminates the entire body. Now, in the last verse of this chapter, Krishna summarizes the concepts which he has spoken till now. He says, Kshetra kshetrajnayor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. What Krishna has told, those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal, and they will achieve their such a jnana yogis will achieve their goal, supreme goal, like liberation. Jnana yoga, jnana yogis they will achieve liberation. What Krishna has summarized that one who sees the body and the knower of the body. And so before he has mentioned the body, the soul and super soul, and all three are different. That is the real vision, actual vision Krishna has mentioned. And now he is mentioning they can understand the process of liberation. And those who have this knowledge, and these three are different. And the knower of the body are eternal. And he will be freed from the bondage of material nature, and he will achieve his goal. This Krishna has told. Now, purport of this 13, somebody can read this.
The purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in verses 8 through 12. Then one can go on to the supreme destination.
What is the essence of this 13th chapter? Krishna has mentioned in this verse, like one can see the body and the owner of the body, soul and super soul are different. And another important thing in this chapter is the process of liberation or the process of jnana, where it is mentioned from verse 8 to 12. If you can practice this process, then automatically what he will get? Jnana, knowledge he will get, by practice of this process. So these are 8 to 12. These are practice jnana sadhana, not bhakti sadhana. Bhakti sadhana is what? It is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, like chanting holy name, reading Bhagavatam, and associating with devotees, worshipping the deities, and honoring the Charanamrita, circumambulating the deities, and attending the festival of the deities. So, like this list is there, 64 limbs. And so they are Bhakti sadhana, and this is Jnana sadhana, seeing the soul and super soul difference, and this actual vision for achieving jnana. Next, pink one.
A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually become enlightened. If one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and the spirit, and that becomes the stepping stone for further spiritual realization. A spiritual master, by various instructions, teaches his students to get free from the material concepts of life. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna instructing Arjun to free him from the materialistic consideration. One can understand that this body is matter. It can be analyzed with its 24 elements. The body is the gross manifestation, and the subtle manifestation is the mind and psychological effects. And the symptoms of life are the interaction of these features. Over and above this, there is the soul and there is also the super soul. The soul and the super soul are two. This material world is working by the conjunction of the soul and the 24 elements. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as this combination of the soul and material elements can also see the situation of the Supreme Soul, becomes eligible for transfer to the spiritual world.
Thank you, Mataji. So what Prabhupada mentioned in this paragraph is how this process work and Jnana Yoga process works. And so in this, Prabhupada is mentioning. So how first of all there is one faithful person in the beginning, and then first what he have some good association to hear about God. Then he hears and then he becomes enlightened. Then he accepts a spiritual master. Then what happens after hearing from spiritual master? He learns a difference between matter and spirit, that is body and soul. Then he becomes further realized. And then he learns many, he hears many instruction from spiritual master, and he is he hears Bhagavad Gita, and by various instruction teaches his students to get free from material concept of life. And by hearing from his spiritual master, that person free himself from the material concept of life. And like Arjuna, Prabhupada is telling. Then after that, he understands that body is a matter and it is made up of 24 elements, and it is mentioned in 6th and 7th number verse of this chapter. It has 24 elements. And mind is also material thing. And the symptom of life are interactions of these features. But above this, there is a soul and super soul above this body and mind. There are two, and this material world is working by the conjunction of the soul and the body, like it is mentioned in 27th verse. Whatever we see in this material world is a combination of what? Combination of what is mentioned in 27th verse?
Moving and non-moving.
Moving and non-moving, and
Combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna.
activity.
Kshetrajna and Kshetrajna, soul and the body. So the similar point Prabhupada is mentioning. Soul and the 24 elements means 24 elements means body. The same whatever mentioned in verse Prabhupada has written. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as this combination of the soul and material elements, and can also see the situation of the supreme soul, becomes eligible. Again, Prabhupada is mentioning the soul, super soul, and body are three different things. The one line purport is remaining. I will read. These things are meant for contemplation. Or Prabhupada is writing for devotee. Prabhuji has asked question. What these things are meant for? Prabhupada is directly giving answer to the question Prabhuji has asked just now. These things are meant for what? Not for cultivation, but for contemplation and for realization. And for contemplation and understanding, for realization. And one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of the spiritual master. So with the help of Prabhupada and previous Acharya, we read this chapter with their help. So Prabhuji, now you got more clear answer here. It is meant
Yes,
for contemplation and for realization,
thank
and
you, Prabhu.
not for cultivation. Yes.
Ah, yes, Prabhu. Very true.
Uh,
Thank you.
so now
I had
with
one
this
question.
bit of this chapter. Yes, please.
Eugene, verse 31
Mm.
talk about the Brahman conception, like the soul which is situated in Brahman vision. And in 32,
Yes. Mm.
it says that the soul,
Mm.
because it is not doer, it is not entangled. Is it
Mm.
32 verse talking about the soul which is in Brahman vision is not entangled? Because we see
Yes,
that
yes, yes.
in karma, vikarma, and all, we get entangled, right, in this material world. The
Mm.
soul gets entangled,
Yes,
but
yes.
here it says that soul never gets entangled.
Yes, yes, Purush. It is connected only. You can see some pronoun might also be there. Uh, it's good. It's talking. See, those who with vision of eternity. And this
Those,
is 32nd verse. And it is referring previous verse. And those, not for all. Those who has vision of eternity. And this is 32nd. And vision of eternity is mentioned here, Brahman conception. And
hmm.
for them only. So it is connected only. 31st and 32nd. 30
And
second again taking reference from for them.
in 33, Prabhuji, it was mentioned that soul does not mix with body. That is true for
Hmm.
all, right? Not only for 33 verse.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Now to 33, what is there to prove? And what he has told in 32nd. Now what he has told in 32nd, see here. This is 32nd verse. And what he has told, those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental and eternal and beyond the modes of nature. And this is the vision. They are seeing this and can see this. This is the object. Imperishable. Soul is imperishable. And despite contact with the material body, and oh Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. And is what the person is seeing. And his vision is mentioned in 32. This much is clear.
Hmm.
Till now, clear? What
No, but
32 second verse is mentioning vision of the Brahman conception.
that soul
And
which does neither does anything is true for all the souls, right? Because we saw that soul is not the doer.
from the point of view of uh, getting the body, he is not on ground level, but he is desiring. He is
Hmm.
also doer. Complete vision is he is the doer. But that Krishna has not highlighted here. Prabhupada has highlighted in the purport. Okay? So now what is there in 32nd? The vision of the Brahman. And in that vision, what is happening? This soul is not is entangling in the body, is not entangling in body. That is the vision.
Vision of that. Okay.
Ah. And to prove this, like spirit is not mixing with matter. To prove this, then Krishna has given the example in 33rd and 34th, two examples, two analogies to prove this concept.
So here entangling means not mixing with the body. Doesn't mean that
Man,
separated
he
or
is not
not mixed.
affected by the qualities of the body. Like body is temporary, and
Hmm.
but his body is in the modes, and uh, body is affected by the modes, but still soul is transcendental. Body is matter, no? But soul
Hmm.
is spiritual. He is not becoming matter. Mixing and tangling means he's not. His qualities are different, and
Hmm.
he's not affected by the qualities of the body.
Got it.
Anybody has any question till now? Everything is clear, understood. Now we'll begin 14 chapter, but we'll take a 10 minutes break. So now 6:43. We'll meet at 6:53. Okay? just the last part is little difficult. Jnana Chakshu. This that I will just revise. So it is there from which verse? 27th to 35th. Correct? So what is mentioned in 27th verse? Everything is a combination of
Kshetra and Kshetrajna.
uh, and body or spirit, spirit and matter. Spirit and matter. That is mentioned in 27th verse. Then and what is mentioned in 28th verse? What is mentioned? We can track.
The vision in knowledge. That is super soul accompanies soul and both are eternal, body is destructive.
Everything vision we can say equal and materially they say there is equality. Bodies are soul is uh, a soul material equality they see based on what spiritual equality. Hmm. 28 and 29 also we can see because soul is equal, so they see body is also they don't see variety in the body, like that. That's why material equality based on spiritual. And then what is there on 38th?
Like soul desires,
Is
Lord
mentioned.
mentions and Prakriti facilitates. So self is different from that activity, not the doer.
So spirit means living entity is 30. Is a not doer, and a body is only acting, not doer. Okay, this is mentioned. Then what is after that 32nd verse? What is mentioned? No, sorry, 31st is reading. No. In 31st, what is mentioned?
Brahman conception.
All material variety is originates in spiritual, similar like that. Brahman conception you mentioned. And then what is there in 32nd? Soul is not entangled. That is mentioned. And 33rd and 34th. And so what is mentioned?
Example of sky and sun.
Two examples are given. And then 35th, who will get liberation? That Krishna has mentioned. So here the concept of what is coming? Entangling, bondage, like this is coming. So what exactly binds and what is exactly entangles the soul is not entangled, but what is that which entangles or what is that binds? That what is that actually? That is material nature, but what is it made up of? It is made up of three modes. So like the Krishna continues this concept of in next chapter, 14th chapter of modes. Next chapter is modes of material nature. So this is the one connection is mentioned, and some another connection is mentioned by some acharya. Is like that in 13th chapter. What is there? Krishna has mentioned the Purusha. Purusha and Prakriti. These things Krishna has mentioned. And Purusha, that same, and there is chance is not entangled by Prakriti, and is mentioned. Like this, they mention, is take the name of Purusha and Prakriti, and they say it is not entangled. Um, but if he has a desire to enjoy, then it may entangle. It covers under the three modes. Like this, they mention. And another one of the another connection is there is one verse 13.22, and that is in our recitation also. And so what is that verse? Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhumte Prakriti Jan Gunam. So Bhumte Prakriti Jan Gunam. So what is the meaning of this Jan Gunam and Gunam? Modes of material nature. So this is the seed verse they call acharyas. And from this seed verse, the tree of 14th chapter tree has come up based on the word Gunan. Krishna is speaking the 14th chapter. These are some of the links given by acharyas. Now we'll move towards 14th chapter. Clear how the 14th chapter is linked, how the concept, it is connected to the concept of 13th chapter. It is only connected through the modes which entangles the jiva. Krishna is beginning the 14th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Param Bhuyah Pravakshami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yajñatva Munayah Sarve Param Siddhi Mito Gata. What Krishna is telling? Just now I mentioned this verse only. It is mentioned Munayah in this verse. Munayah. And so Krishna is telling about munis and not about devotees. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall declare to you, Arjuna, and this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. So first point here, clear translation is clear to everybody. So now what Krishna is telling, he is telling again, bhuyat, bhuyah, sorry, bhuyah. The word used is bhuyah, means again. And then this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge. So now, if Krishna has what he has told this knowledge previously also. And previously also he has told this knowledge. Yeah. So then he is again telling this knowledge. Krishna is repeating. And now he is telling it is Uttamam, the best of all knowledge. Uttamam. So how then it is Uttamam? Something Krishna has previously told. And now he is telling, I am declaring. And when I am declaring this again, it is Uttamam, means what he has previously told, is that Uttamam or not? Same thing he has previously told. That is Uttamam or not?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Then why he is telling this is Uttamam? Now what he is telling, that is only Uttamam he is telling. And what previously he has told, then what about that? now what is the thing? What previously Krishna has told, and this knowledge, like previously, what Krishna has told, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and in that knowledge which he has told, and now he is telling what jnana yoga, and, and throughout in karma yoga section, what I told you is that karma is leading to bhakti, and acharyas give answer to this question that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, and throughout the Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna is giving the knowledge about bhakti. And earlier, what he has told, karma leading to bhakti. And then dhyana yoga and ashtanga yoga, that is leading to bhakti. And then 7 to 12, he has told directly bhakti. And now 13 to 18, what he is telling, how jnana is leading to bhakti. And so, what is Krishna's intention here? So, throughout he is telling about bhakti. So that's why that is supreme. Then how this knowledge? Now what he is telling, jnana is leading to bhakti. So this jnana yoga is better to all other yogas which previously which he has mentioned. And he is telling again, means he is again and again he's telling about bhakti. And that is, he is repeating about bhakti, but previously he mentioned in regards to karma, but now he is mentioning to in regards to jnana. So jnana is better than bhakti. That's why the word uttamam came. And clear? Translation is clear? Then we'll move on. Then another point in regards to some, let's say, that we study. Then, then another point is remain previously where he has told this knowledge, and that we studied that in karma section he has mentioned, and then in bhakti section he has mentioned in 7th chapter and 9th chapter and about knowledge that we mentioned. Then move towards purport. One line only. From the 7th chapter to the end of 12th chapter, Sri Krishna in details reveals the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. So many details, what pleases him, and how we can know about him. So how he can be revealed, and how we can please him. So many details about Krishna, it is mentioned. That is Bhakti section. By Prabhu, Krishna. And now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, and he will come to an understanding of devotional service. And what is the purpose of this 13 to 18? Is that if we understand this section, Jnana section, which Krishna is telling, through the process of philosophical speculation, it's mainly from the point of view of analysis or philosophical speculation. Then what will be the conclusion? Bhakti, because it is devotional service. So this jnana or knowledge is leading to bhakti. That's why it is Jnana section, devotional service. He will come to, means it is leading. That's why that person, after studying this knowledge, is coming to devotional service. And this Prabhupada has mentioned. Clear? Till now clear? Somebody can read that blue one.
In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has now been it it has also been explained that it is due to the association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attained perfection and transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained, and knowing this may attain perfection. Thus, it is
Many.
expected that, knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection.
Thank you, bro. So, what Prabhupada is mentioning, the glories of knowledge. What is there in 13th chapter also Prabhupada has told, and summarily. So what he has explained that by humbly developing knowledge. Why mentioning the word humbly? Because first thing in the process of knowledge is humility. Amanitvam, adambitvam. And so one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. There is a possibility and that one may free if he practices correctly, and then he will get free from material entanglement. Why is Prabhupada is telling like this? Hmm? Prabhupada has told by developing these 20 processes, one will be freed from material entanglement. How one will be freed by practicing these 20 items? We can try. How one is going to free? Because what happens if one practice these 20 atoms, then what will happen? 20, what are the 20 atoms? That is process of knowledge, correct? If one practices these 20 atoms, then what he will get? The practitioner, what he will get?
Knowledge that body and matter is different. Body and soul.
Yeah, he will get knowledge. And after getting the knowledge, what will happen?
Enlightenment.
Yeah. He will be liberated. He will be freed from the material entanglement. That's why Prabhupada has written this. If one practice this 20 atom, then he will be freed from material entanglement. And then what he is telling, it has also been explained that it is due to the association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled. And that I explained now. And now in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature, and this also I have told, how they act. This now proverb is there. How modes will act on living entity, that we'll learn here in 14th chapter. How they bind and how modes bind or entangles the living entity. How they give liberation. And means how we can be freed from the modes. And not only we will learn the modes, and we'll learn what are the modes, and how they act, and how they bind, and how to free from these effects of mood. That will also we are going to learn in this chapter. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord, and Krishna himself is telling that what he is telling, that this knowledge is uttamam, superior to knowledge he has given in previous chapters, and this knowledge is superior. I told how it is superior, that I have explained. By understanding this knowledge, and by using this knowledge, understanding various great sages, and they attain perfection and transfer to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. In a better way, he is mentioning in detail. It means same knowledge means what is the meaning here? Like previously, it is mentioned that if one is not acting, and then everybody has to act, and soul is active, and like that karma knowledge he has mentioned. And but now, if nobody is acting, then what is he is binding himself, and so in that way he has mentioned this knowledge. But now how he is mentioning modes are binding. Previously, how karma is binding, that he has mentioned. So how modes are binding, that he will explain in this 14th chapter. This knowledge is far, far superior to other processes of knowledge. Thus far explained, and whatever Krishna has mentioned. And knowing this, and not only one, two, and many, and attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands the 14th chapter will attain perfection. And somebody understand this 14th chapter, and then there is more probability of his attaining perfection. Uh, So that point I have mentioned while answering Prabhuji's question. It is Krishna has told it is especially meant for the sages, munis, and not for devotees. How munis can take to devotional service by practice of this knowledge, and that Krishna is telling. Okay. Purport also we read. Then what is in second verse? Krishna is telling about this knowledge. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmya agata sargyepi nopajayante pralayena vyathanti cha. And so now he is telling the importance of this knowledge and what one will get by this knowledge. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, and which knowledge? In this knowledge means which knowledge? Knowledge of
three modes of material nature. Three modes of
yeah,
material nature.
yes. Thank you, bro. Knowledge of three modes, and one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. And can achieve the qualities and a nature like Krishna. Krishna's nature just by becoming fixed in this knowledge. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. And if one is established, one is fixed in this knowledge and established fixed, then one will not be disturbed in the dualities and like creation, destruction, and happiness, distress. One will not be disturbed by these dualities. What Prabhupada is telling, somebody can read.
After acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. One does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from Vedic literature that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, being engaged in his transcendental loving service. So, even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities.
Thank you, bro. So what Prabhupada is telling, after acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge and whatever Krishna has mentioned in the point. So what Krishna has mentioned, that after acquiring transcendental knowledge, what one will get nature like Krishna. And so what Prabhupada is telling, nature means what? One acquires qualitative equality. And qualitatively, quantitatively, we cannot be one with Krishna. And, but qualitatively, we can one with the Supreme. That is meaning of acquiring nature. And Prabhupada is told. And becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. And because that is Krishna's quality. He is uh, uh, eternal. So similarly, we will also become eternal, free from birth and death, repetition of birth and death. And one doesn't, however, lose his identity. Prabhupada is adding that one will not lose his identity. And attaining my nature, and means Mayavadis will take benefit of this, and they will tell that we will become like Krishna, will merge in Krishna. So Prabhupada, for that, Prabhupada is telling that identity will be maintained and we will be individual soul only eternally. And it is understood from Vedic literatures that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always, and those who are liberated, and it is mentioned in the Shastras, that those who are liberated and they have reached the transcendental planets, means they have gone back to Godhead in spiritual sky, and they have achieved the lotus feet of Lord, and being engaged in his transcendental loving service and by bhakti. And so even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities. And even though after liberation, and although they are uh, staying in the spiritual world, and there also they will be individual living entities. One will not lose his identity. So this is the benefit of having this transcendental knowledge of the three modes of material nature. This Prabhupada has mentioned in first paragraph. Now in second paragraph, I have mentioned here the title and that what is the topic Prabhupada is discussing here. Now Prabhupada is defining the transcendental knowledge in second paragraph. So what exactly, and we are not knowing now what is transcendental knowledge. So Prabhupada is defining that for us. Somebody can read. Pink one.
Generally,
Whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he is on the same platform as the Supreme Person. Those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities of the material form, this spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegateness. However, just as there is material variegateness in this world, in the spiritual world, there is also very greatness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety, but actually in the spiritual sky one attains a spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called the devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there one is equal in quality with the Supreme Lord. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who one who thus develop the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or by the destruction of the material world.
Thank you. So, what definition Prabhupada has given of transcendental knowledge? Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of material nature is transcendental knowledge, and which is contaminated is material knowledge, material world, knowledge in the material world that is contaminated. So this is the definition Prabhupada has given. So as soon as one becomes situated and knowing himself about this, one is situated in this transcendental knowledge, and so he will be on the same platform, means qualitatively, and he will have the qualities like a Krishna only, supreme person. And those who have no knowledge of this transcendence or spiritual sky, or that after being freed from the material activities of the material nature, the spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegatedness. Then those who doesn't have any knowledge, what he will think, and he will think that like in material there is a variegatedness, and in spirituality there is no variegatedness. That person who will think like this, who is not in that knowledge, and who is in that knowledge, what he will understand, that there is variegatedness in material world also and spiritual world also. That point Prabhupada is telling. The person who has lack of knowledge, and person who has knowledge, that differentiation Prabhupada has given. And the correct knowledge person's thinking Prabhupada has given. First, he gives the correct knowledge of the form. And spiritual world also is a full of variety, full of variegatedness, and like material world. So in spiritual sky, one attains spiritual form. One attains in spiritual sky, one attains a spiritual form. Like this, Prabhupada tells. This is regarding the form. And then he tells about the activities. There are spiritual activities and spiritual situation is called devotional life. The spiritual activities means whatever activities one does, that is above the three modes, that is devotional service, bhakti. And what is there? The atmosphere in spiritual world is uncontaminated, means above the three modes. Then what will happen? Such a person, there is equality with the Supreme Lord, and he will be equal qualitatively and equal in quality, same and a spiritual quality. And what one has to do now, this is about knowledge. He has mentioned about transcendental knowledge, and how one can obtain such knowledge, and he is mentioning that. And for that, one has to develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or destruction. One who develops such spiritual qualities, which he has mentioned in 12th chapter, spiritual qualities. If one develops such qualities, then what will happen? One will obtain such knowledge in a process of knowledge. or 13th chapter also, he has mentioned 8 to 12. And if one develops these qualities, and then what will one will obtain knowledge? It is mentioned. That's why it is called process of knowledge. Krishna has mentioned about the knowledge about these two verses. In these two verses, he has mentioned about knowledge. And now, after glorifying the knowledge, then he will tell about relationship between the conditioned living entities, himself, and material nature. So, how the living entity is conditioned by the modes, by the material nature, that he will explain. So, what he's telling in third verse is Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhamyaham sambhavah sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata. What Krishna is telling, the total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth and and it is that Brahman that I impregnates, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So what Krishna is telling, the total material substance, consider this is a total material substance. This is the situation before the creation of this material world. Before creation. So before creation, what Krishna is telling, there is one substance called as Brahman. And there is only Brahman is existing, one substance. And what it is the source of birth. So it gives birth to living entities. And it is that I impregnates. So living entities' birth is happening, but how it is happening, how living entities are coming in this Brahman material world, because Krishna is impregnating this material world, this Brahman, with living entities. That's why living entities are taking birth. In very short, it is mentioned, and it is mentioned in detail in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, making possible the birth of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So
This
there,
Brahman
Brahman is there in third canto. There is our Acharya now commentary to this verse. Baldev Vidyabhushan has called Pradhana. This Brahman is another name of Pradhana, he tells. And Vishwanath Chakravarti, he tells that it is Mahat Tattva. And his Pradhana, Mahat Tattva, these are terminology in the creation. Now will not go in. Now, for or at this level, you just consider this Pradhana, Mahat Tattva, these are stages in between the creation. And that much is sufficient. And these are stages in the creation of this material world and how the creation is happening and this material creation. These are some stages. And here in this verse, Krishna has used the word Brahman. But our Acharyas and commentary to this verse of Bhagavad Gita, Baldev Vidyabhushan tells it is Pradhana. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur it tells Mahat Tattva. And these are stages in the process of creation. And Pradhana, Mahat Tattva. Clear, no? Some confusion is there.
No, Prabhu, clear.
So, We can read yellow.
This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahat Tattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. This total material substance, the Mahat Tattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature, Mundak Upanishad 1.1.19. Tasmad etad Brahma namarupam annam cha jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma or the Great Brahman, the material nature.
Thank you. So, what Prabhupada is mentioning in this verse is that first he mentioned the how this verse is giving the explanation of the world. In regards, he mentioned that Krishna, before what he has mentioned in the 13th chapter, we studied the combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And which verse it is? 13.27. Combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. Who has combined them? Lord only has combined. Now, the Mahat Tattva is the total cause of total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are the three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. I have told here previously. In Mahat Tattva, sometimes this Brahman is called Mahat Tattva and Pradhana also. So Prabhupada is telling the same thing, that this Mahat Tattva means Brahman is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, means total this cosmic manifestation, material world, and for that cause is this Mahat Tattva, and Brahman. The total substance of the material cause, in which there are the three modes of nature. And three modes are also coming from this Mahat Tattva. And sometimes it is called as Brahman. And the Supreme Personality impregnates the total substance. Total substance means what? Mahat Tattva. And thus innumerable universes become possible. So from that, then universes are created. The total material substance, the Mahat Tattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. So where it is mentioned Mahat Tattva and Brahman are same. So it is mentioned in Mundak Upanishad. Tasmad etad Brahma nama rupam annam cha jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma. So these 24 elements, what they are called? Mahat Brahma or Great Brahma. Then Lord, what he is doing, he is impregnating that Brahman, means Mahat Tattva, and with the seeds of living entity, with the bija of living entity. Then what is happening? This living entity bija is there, and this living entity bija is getting the body from Mahat Tattva. How? From 24 elements. Body is made up of 24 elements. So living entity is getting the body and that by 24 elements, and that 24 elements are called what? Mahad Brahma or Great Brahma. Clear? They're complicated, but somebody has any question? Understood?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Now, green one I will just read. As explained in the seventh chapter, beyond this there is another superior nature. So beyond this means Mahad Brahma. Mahad Brahma is 24 element. That is Apara Prakriti. And there is Para Prakriti, living entity. From seventh chapter, 7.4. Into material nature, 7.4 and 5 actually. 7.4 is Apara and 7.5 is Para. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore all living entities are born of this material nature. So into material nature, the superior nature is mixed. And so living entity and then it is material nature combinedly they are coming out. Yeah. Soul and body combinedly they are coming out, born of material nature. So it is called living entity is born of material nature. Like at the end of 13th chapter, we saw that who is giving birth is material nature is doing everything. It is mentioned. Same point Prabhupada is mentioned. Somebody can read blue one.
The
Actually,
scorpion,
over time, we can cover it tomorrow. And tomorrow we have class. We will stop here. Somebody has any question?